Okay, hi everyone. Velvet with Little Red Door. I'm here with the fabulous lighting guru, Kelly Ingles. Where I'm very honored to have her agree to come and do this. She is just getting so much recognition in her field. If you follow her on any of her groups, she is our go-to girl on lighting, all kinds of stuff. She's talked on numerous stages in both Canada and the US. Anywhere else? Have you been global yet, Kelly?
Oh man, maybe on the internet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, okay, that's good. The World Wide Web. Yes, and she teaches. She's been in the industry, lighting industry, for a number of years now, and that's where we met. With our design services, Kelly used to help us out as one of the sales reps at a store that we were purchasing through, and she was just so awesome that we've become friends, and we live in different cities now, but we follow each other around and make sure that we're all up to date on things. Kelly's great at assisting us if we have specific needs and things from our clients. We forward them off to Kelly to do consultations with them and to really hone in on the lighting aspect of our design work. Like everything, there's an expert in all of these fields, so we like to get, if somebody has specific needs, Kelly's the girl to go to ask about all that. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. Thank you for that warm welcoming.
Yeah, did I cover everything, Kelly? I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Consultant, educator, inspirer, huge lighting advocate. That's kind of one of my big things. I kind of stick to brands and abide by them when I believe in good product.
Wonderful. And your company, your school, your education is called?
Lighting Education Design. And if you pick that out, I don't know which way to move.
There you go. Yeah.
That stands for LED. And I really believe in lighting. It's hard to design unless you're educated. And that's mainly because lighting, the LED technology today is such a moving target. And I even find it challenging to keep up with all the technology that's moving out there.
That's awesome. And I think that's something you just said reminded me, a lot of times we rely on our electricians and things to be giving us, advice on what to be putting in, as opposed to somebody who's a little perhaps more educated and more on the what's new and exciting out in the industry, not just our electricians. No shout out to anything bad about electricians, but they're certainly not the designer aspect of what Kelly and I do in some of the projects we've worked on, and of course what Kelly's specialty is as well. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, like a good comment to that is that, I mean, in design, it's really a team collaboration type deal, and I can't do my job without the trades. And so what I really like to do is bridge that gap of confusion. And I find what happens often in lighting and design is that we all have ideas, and if we bring them to the table, we're able to unify that idea together a lot better, which I think provides more opportunity. Simply because I spend a majority of my time researching and learning about what's in the forefront and what's coming. And that way we can address those opportunities early in advance. And then the electrician or the designer or the builder is able to adapt and provide that opportunity for the client, which gives us a fast forward design. We're future-proofing a lot of our designs. And so I really like to get involved quite early, simply because then we can offer these ideas and opportunities, and LED is ready for residential design. And when you're making the decision, it's forever. So we really like to influence what the possibilities are.
Wonderful. How'd you get into it, Kelly? How'd you fall into lighting?
Oh man. Well, it's easy to say, but like I literally saw the light.
Well done.
I was working at Robinson Lighting in Bath, just out of taking a decorating program. And I started to realize that there was so much technicality behind lighting, and I found it really fascinating. And I found it moving quite quickly, even at that time when we were still selling incandescents and halogens and fluorescents. I was very fortunate enough to come into the industry about 2003, and I kind of climbed the ladder quite quickly and became a buyer, and then products started to develop and come to our forefront where LED was surfacing. We started seeing it in step lights and under cabinet lighting, small areas like that. And so we were able to sort of tackle some of the obstacles we had early on. Then I remember holding the very first LED light bulb that we would sell in our showroom. And man, it has come a very, very long way in terms of price, performance, and certainly the look of the product. And so I really like to use that analogy as a starting point because of what my experience was in the very early stages until today. And so I've gone through the 10 years that the expectancy lifespan of an LED is. And so we kind of know pros, cons, and what to expect going forward. And I have true confidence that we can put that in our home and have a good experience now.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, just such a vast experience, and just watching everything shift, right? And how we use it, and just how readily available it is for everybody, and not just the rich and famous of getting designs and stuff done and being able to use it in your household, and just the environmental impact of all of that as well. I think that's a huge thing that more and more people are becoming aware of, and some of the little touches that we can add in. When you said, stuff for accessibility and lighting areas, things like toe kick lighting at the bottom of your cabinets, and things, where we don't have to have the little plug-in night lights anymore. We can actually adapt things in our homes to make it more functional, more pretty, not just.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, we can add more points of light is the way that I look at it because of the size. And the heat factor, there's, so we can really put it in places that we weren't able to do before, and not just purely size, but maintenance. We don't want to have to, I remember forever people coming to me stressed out because they had to replace some odd, strange light bulb from their under cabinet lighting or in a step light, and they had to go somewhere specific, and they found that kind of to be a hassle. It was a hassle to get it in or out. And
right. And was it LED lights when they first came out? You had to wear like the white gloves when you were trying to pull them out of the sockets or something, or what were those lights?
That was a halogen. Oh. And that's because there's, it's a capsule, there's an argon gas inside that capsule, and the greases from our hands used to mitigate the production of the filament recycling. And so then it would burn out.
Crazy. How far are we from?
I knew too much. I learned everything about incandescent, halogen, and fluorescent just in time for it to leave. And then I got to experience all the characteristics of LED and the pros, cons, and this crazy roller coaster ride that it's been. I've heard all the stories, the flickering, the color, I look gray. It's ugly to look at, the snake eyes sometimes. I've heard it all. And I'm always open to answer people's questions in some of the experiences they had and how we can fix them or what's available now.
Wow, so great. And you're out in Vancouver, Victoria.
Vancouver Island. Cool. And I actually live in a small town called Cobble Hill.
Oh, very fun.
Give it a shout out.
Shout out to Cobble Hill. And you're teaching at is it a continuing ed? Is it a design school? Where are you teaching?
So I'm teaching at the Pacific Design Academy in downtown Victoria, and it is for interior design students. They teach all kinds of fun things like film and photography and fashion. I find that really fascinating too. So I would love to share more about the school, but unfortunately with COVID, I don't get the opportunity to see many other people or students. But we are still teaching in person. And I do have a class of students that I get to see once a week. So that's really nice.
And are you doing anything online for teaching for yourself? If anybody wanted to take a lighting course through you, not necessarily through a school, do you have anything available like that? Or is that something you're doing?
I'm always open to consultations and that opportunity. I generally mold things around the need, whether it be an end user, customer, or a design team. We always sort of see what the level of learning or skills that they have, and then we can adapt something to work for them. I'm heavily involved with the NKBA, which is the National Kitchen and Bath Association, a national speaker for them, and I speak at all the KBIS events for the last couple of years, and hopefully in person this year. I'll be teaching a workshop in Florida, so we're really looking forward to that.
Awesome. That's exciting. That's a fun trip for you. I'm just making sure we're still feeding. Yep, still all good. And okay, so you fell into lighting. Is there so you want to be in kind of beginning stages of planning. So when we do plans and things up, what I would typically do is send those to Kelly and say, here's what we're looking at for this client. If there's any specific needs that the clients ask for, nothing off the top of my head pops in, but maybe some layered light or some very tall ceilings where we can't, vaulted ceilings where we can't hang a traditional pot light, or put a pot light or hang traditional light fixtures down because the ceilings are too high. We've had that scenario before. And just how do we light a space to make it functional for when people are in it? So we're doing those more so I deal more in renovations, of course. And so when we have the opportunity to get in and really rewire things is what Kelly helps us do and gives us lots of options of that. Is there if somebody, no, let's do this way. Do you have like 5 of your top things that you would recommend to anybody when considering lighting or thinking about changing the lighting up in their house?
I find one of the biggest thing that's missing most of the time is accent lighting. Mm-hmm. So, we always have our layers, and I usually use like getting dressed as a good example. Our outfit is more finished when we provide the accent of maybe jewelry. In my case, I use my hair, but it's something that pops, something that stands out. And accent lighting is such a huge opportunity that I find is missed. We always, ask the question, is this enough light? Which is one of my programs, actually. I teach that class, and it's really about breaking down the layers in order to achieve the ultimate goal. And we always consider and focus on task and how much light is in the room and is it bright enough? And I find majority of the time it's too bright. And I think what's missing is the relaxation factor. And that goes back to my healthy lighting class that I teach, and that's reminding ourselves to settle ourselves for the day and going back to resting mode. And if we're inundated with 25 downlights on the ceiling that are shining bright white, then it's kind of disrupting that circadian rhythm. And so that would be the next segue to my next program that I just taught as well, called Economical Smart Home Lighting Design. And that's where we are able to sort of take our lighting layers and combine them into control. And control is really the goal. If anybody asks me where the future of lighting design is, my answer is always control. No matter what we do with technology in terms of what the product can do, whether it changes color or, dims at a different level than other products, there's no technology unless you can control that. And so smart home technology has really taken that top seat in my design layouts.
And so when you say control, that's more about how we're dimming things if we have got technology on our phones and things like that. Is that what you mean by control?
Yeah, I mean, there's different levels of control, whether it be the wall switch. We can go anywhere from a traditional wall switch to the apps on our phone with some of the smart products you can get out there, to an integrated system, which would be more home automation. There's many different levels, and that's kind of why I wanted to teach a class that took a step back. There's the high automation, which I find most people will feel like that's an overwhelming expensive option. But then there's, all these new groovy smart home light bulbs. And I know if it's selling at Costco, everybody might have tried it by now. And so,
yeah, that's a great point.
yeah. And so we really talk about some of the pros, cons to the products, where to use them, how to use them, and where it makes the most sense to get that return on your investment. Because I also don't think that it's a relatively inexpensive option. And so making sure we use it properly. And just a quick shout out for some of the disadvantages. I mean, it depends on the users. It's a very specific product. And if you've got children that can't run an app, or someone older that can't really see the app, the access can be quite difficult to manage. And so there are systems that can do a variety of both.
Yeah, I think that's something about the automation as well. The homes and things I work in tend to be, second and third homes for people as well. I tend not to necessarily be in as many starter homes for automation purposes. But when you get into kind of those next houses, people want to upgrade and do a few more bells and whistles and things in there too. And we talk a lot about automation, whether that's sound, having your music wired through, whether that's your blinds are wired in, and then lighting as well as part of that kind of whole home automation. But a lot of our clients don't want to have to access their phone to turn lights on and off or up and down. Automation is great if we're not home all the time, because there's abilities to make scenes, if you will, that, you know, it tracks what you do in a week. So your lights are going on and off, your blinds are going up and down, all of those things. So I think automation is super cool. I think there's some really fun things to get into. But like you say, the end user, how you want to live in your home is that's my mantra. How do you live? What do you want to be able to do in here? What tasks are you doing? You know, is this, especially now with COVID, and our houses have just become this mecca of everything. We're doing crafts, we're doing cooking, we're doing, you know, homework and schoolwork and all of that kind of stuff in our homes, where we used to go someplace to do all of that. So now we a lot of people don't have the setups that are making it convenient for them to be at home or comfortable even. Some people are like, oh, I have no good space to do any work in. It's my kitchen table.
Yeah, and it's such a huge lighting thing that we don't really realize. And I always use the sun as an analogy, because we don't realize the effects that has on our well-being. And you know, and we start our days in sort of a warm, you know, if you think of a sunrise, we go there for that inspirational factor to start and generate our day. I know in Calgary, when I was there driving, heading towards downtown and seeing that sunrise come up was just so inspiring and so colorful and so beautiful that's light is affecting us. And then when we get to our offices, you know, we've been told that it's a stark and blue, maybe gray environment, but it's there for a reason. It's purposely that color, so we're productive and that we're focused. And I remind people, you know, sometimes we'll go outside to gain some energy, and that'll be around the noon hour, you know, and that's when the sky is blue and bright. But that's kind of the color of the inside of an office building, and so that's why. And then bringing it back to home, and we want to reduce that blue factor and go back into the warm, so that we're starting to move that cycle back. And so this is happening in smart home lighting design today, and this is possible. You know, we can set it, forget it, and it's doing it automatically. Or we can set scenes so that when we're cooking, everything's bright and white, or we're working, you know, at our dining table or at the kitchen island in something that's uniform, bright, less shadows, effective. But then when you're feeling screen fatigued and tired, we can bring it down to a resting phase where things then become a little more moody. Maybe the light levels become lower below our shoulders, and it's more yellow, it's more warm. And that's moving us into that sunset factor and those beautiful colors again that help us with resting. And I don't think we take enough time to consider the effects that light has on resting in our lives. You know, I think in the past, there wasn't even a light bulb or a light fixture in the living room in some traditional designs.
Yeah.
So automatically we would put a lamp in there. And that lamp was interesting because it would be an incandescent, it would be warm, it would be low below our shoulders, and it created that resting cycle, which is fairly healthy, rather than just living underneath a sea of downlighting. So I really consider both in designs, and it can be renovation or it can just be an update. What can I do? What can I plug in to make this space more effective for my household and my well-being? And that has to stay with lots of families. I can imagine children today living and working from home behind a screen. They don't even know what time it is. You know, there's no schedule. And so, you know, moving them into a rest cycle without them knowing it could be super beneficial.
Oh, that's a good point. See, that's smart. Yeah, I guess we've kind of forgot about, you know, specific places were designed for specific tasks when we're talking about schools and we're talking about office buildings, as opposed to our homes now that have become multifunctional like that. And it used to just be the start of your day and the end of your day. So to have, you know, that lamp in the living room to bring that lighting level down. I think that's a good point too. We forget about lighting in bathrooms a lot as well, about how to create those moods. And, you know, if you're going to have a bath or you know, sit and relax in the tub, to have that adjustability in lights to change up how we've lit those spaces, so that you're not, you know, you go to get out of your tub and you blind yourself because you've been sitting in the dark and you have to now find your towel and those kinds of things. So, you know, just making adjustments for start and end of the day. I really like that. I mean, we do that, but I think making a conscious checklist of all of those things is a really good discussion to have with people.
I think that there's a lot of really great products, and bathrooms are such a great discussion about lighting, you know, and when we integrate smart design into a bathroom, you know, you can have your first scene turn on and start warm and dim, and then you get in the shower and the room progressively starts to get brighter and whiter, to wake you up and during you that and give you that wake up cycle. And what a cool experience to have. Once you have it, I think you question yourself how you live without it, you know.
Sure.
And then there could be just the, the simple light of what I just sort of call for passage, which you can just go in, use the bathroom and leave, and you're touching nothing. It'll just do that automatically, whether it be sensors or whatnot. And so this is the technology available. And I don't necessarily think that it's an expensive option. It's just being thought of in advance to make it work.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's hard, way harder to do after the fact than it is when you're deciding to renovate something, to run lines and stuff. Yes, some of the systems and the multifunctional systems can get costly, but we have to think about how we're living in our homes and stuff too. I think lighting changes a design for good or for bad. It doesn't matter what things as an interior designer, what things we do, if it's poorly lit or poorly thought out as far as the lighting end of things, it just kind of ruins the experience of it. And that's what design is, just the whole experience, right?
Yeah, and that really ultimately comes down to the lighting layers. And we always look at that and make sure, in design, it takes many layers to get to that objective. And so we apply the same concept in lighting. And so we finish those layers off to get and achieve that mood factor and get a better outcome than expected.
That's awesome. And you told me before we started that you have just done a new course that's coming up. You're aging in place as well.
Yeah. So my workshop that I hope to be teaching in person in Florida in February of 2022. I have a hard time saying that. 2022. This is we're going to be talking about luxury lighting and aging in place, and it's a really fun topic that I really want to start introducing about luxury products. And when we think luxury, we might think expensive, but really I'm promoting longevity. And so when we're looking at an LED product that is designed to last a lifetime, I really want the user to think that they'll never have to touch it again. And so when we're looking at aging in place, we're looking at products that maybe aren't necessary today, but much later, when they know the product is going to last significantly long time, that it is going to last, it's dependable, it will perform, and potentially accessible. Some of the issues we have as we get older is that glare is a factor, and there are two types of glare, whether it be from the source or reflecting from something. So having the ability to manipulate light later is beneficial. Next maybe is accessibility, and maybe we're not moving as spry as we may have before. And so maybe a device we can talk to later is beneficial, or something we can operate from our phones. Those factors that we'd like to consider. So there's a bunch of those different things that we're going to address. I like to bring some attention to luxury products, and that's because we tend to see it just get pushed away because lighting gets talked about so late in the game that, budgets can be no longer available. And so I want to bring that focus into play, that this is long-term, this is to last the lifetime of that household and in your time there. And I think that doing it right the first time is great return on your investment.
Yeah, I agree with that. The stuff behind the walls, we can, it's so hard to change that stuff. It's doable, but I think it's to have the conversation up front, to really work through the process of, what does this look like? How long are you going to be in this home? And that just depends on level of home and stuff as well. I like the automation and to think about, the Alexas and the Siris of the world. Hey, turn my lights on, turn my lights down, those kinds of things. I think that's an amazing aspect that a lot of people don't think about right now. Turn the lights up, right?
I think it's a really cool topic. And we also consider the users in the house, and maybe it's a huge positive pro for one person, but maybe someone else not so much, and the change is difficult. And so that's when we consider what works best for both. And so there are systems that can do all these different things, and that's the conversations we start to have.
Yeah, I think longevity in the home is a great topic, and we could probably talk about that forever, about how everyone's maybe got a plan of how long they stay somewhere, but it ends up being longer usually. and just how we can cycle through all kinds of things. I mean, for myself, I've had back issues and stuff before, and it just takes, it doesn't matter how old you are, something can happen. And when we're designing spaces and designing homes, to add those aspects in that make it feel more grand, things like wider doorways and hallways, and adding in some of the luxury features of lighting and those kinds of things, when perhaps we don't have the mobility aspect of a lot of things. And if you think of people that are having a few more challenges, if they're in wheelchairs or walkers and trying to turn on light switches and get from point A to point B with all of their stuff, I think lighting is just such a huge part and component where you don't have to set everything down to flip on a light switch. You can speak it, you can do other things too. So I think that's a great point of, if we can get in there sooner and help people think about that whole process, is just so beneficial for everything. It's exciting.
Absolutely. I think it just really changes the direction of things, because I don't necessarily think that we have an ideal budget, and most people will open up that opportunity if they realize what the effects, the benefits that they're going to gain from that. It's always, well, this is what I want to spend, but here, I didn't realize that the return on investment is only 5 or 6 years, and I plan to live here for 15, 20 years, then that opens up things and changes the way that we're thinking and the way that we're going to use that budget. And if I know, for me, I love buying, this is a big one for Facebook people, buying from Shein, or all these advertisements that are popping up with this cute outfit that I want to buy this thing, and cute swimsuit comes from Cupshe, and then you get it and you're like, oh, this is not at all what I wanted. It doesn't fit me, doesn't look good, and I spent $17-25. I waited 45 days, when I could have just went to Swimco, bought what fits, bought what I like. Yeah, it was 3 times the price, but I'm not going to leave it in a drawer for 7 weeks, or for the whole season, because I felt guilty and kept that thing that I bought.
And never wore it, because it didn't fit right or look right. Yeah.
So I think that quality, when we're looking for longevity, has got huge significance, and we want to do it right one time.
Awesome. And what's in the future for Kelly? More teaching? You want to do some more speaking?
More speaking in person. I've been doing the online stuff. I've played a little bit with trying to be interactive. I've sent people on activities with a checklist and giving me thumbs up. It's so much better to gauge people's reactions. I love seeing head nods in the crowd. And I like to be able to gauge where people's ideas are at, and then just getting that direct feedback or that energy can allow me to decide what direction I'm going to take things, and really allow that audience to be influenced the way that they are showing me they want to be influenced. And so in person is so important, and traveling and getting out there and seeing other people speak too.
Yeah.
I be able to follow and check more things out when I'm hitting a convention or something where other people are speaking, and I don't do that as much online because I'm just so caught up in what I'm doing. And so I'd like to spend more time on being around more people. I'm sure everybody else is ready for now.
Yeah, you guys in BC are luckier than us. We're still locked down. Well, that's fun. Okay, so more public speaking things. You touched on. You had told me you're involved in all kinds of stuff. You've gone back to school and you're doing some personal development stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How's going to school during COVID as an adult?
As an adult, okay, yeah, haven't been to school for a long time, and so that has been just a completely different learning curve. One is you realize that I'm older now, and so my motivation is a bit of a different thing. My obligations also hold me back from what I would normally do as a student, and so it's a completely different experience. I've done some self-learning online where it's all on me and I leave it to the last minute and cram everything and try and push it all out and get it done, and phew when I made a pass. But I'm doing this for personal development, so I started to do some online lectures with the teacher present and a group of people that were participating in activities and asking questions and being live and then going back to the study. And that's also been a really positive experience. And one is just being talking to others and having people to bounce ideas off of and learn from other people in a completely different atmosphere than I'm used to. So like I mentioned before, in design, I always say I'm really good at putting the shape through the hole, like that toy, that's what I'm good at, in colors and things. And now I'm working more on an academic level where I'm trying to improve writing. I want to get into more blog writing and articles, step outside my comfort zone. That's really what COVID's done for me. And so that's really exciting. I think that it's a huge positive and challenging and stressful and all those good things.
School, all these parents that are out there homeschooling their kids, working from home, doing the whole thing. Holy man, we recognize you. We see you.
We see, we hear, and I tell you, you got to give these colored lights a try, because I hope that, when you get your moment of rest, then, throw yourself in a splash of warm color and take that moment to observe that opportunity to experience, a sunset, even if it's in your room.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk. If you had to tell somebody three things, let's do three things they could do today that was just quick and easy to, light up their life. What would those be? You said the colored lights. I'll give you that one as one.
Colored lights. I think take advantage of lamps. I know that we fill our house with a lot of downlighting, which gives us that accessibility. It's easy. But are we, I grew up with a mom that put a lamp in the living room on a timer. And that was just it's an indication of time. It's getting late. Two, it's safety. It's turning on that dark space and giving us that passage light that we require. And I think three, that it's just that relaxation factor of having something low below our shoulders. And that's probably my biggest advice, is taking light from overhead and putting it at a lower level so that you can kind of rest on that aspect. And I think number three, get outside,
Nice.
Even if it's winter time, we can get in our cars and go for a drive and maybe chase that sunset and watch those colors in the sky do those effects for us. And I know we have some of the best sunsets and sunrises in Calgary. And so take advantage of that and go watch them. If there's nothing else to do, maybe put the show on pause and go do that and experience some of the natural phenomenons that we have in life.
That's so awesome. Those are great tips. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they reach you at your website?
Through our website,
there you go, lightingeducationdesign.com. I'll put it in the comments too.
Emails kelly@lightingeducationdesign.com. I have an Instagram page you can follow, same name. And those are my two predominant platforms, mostly because it's me doing all the stuff. And so
solopreneur, good girl.
What I can do on my own. And so I'm always happy to answer anybody's questions.
And you do consults. If somebody had some plans, they're starting to look at renovations, or they're starting, whatever. Maybe they have a house right now and they just want to get better lighting and stuff in there, whatever it is. You do consultations for all of that as well. Talk a bit about that.
Absolutely. One of my most, the biggest, every year I kind of focus on a specific target of lighting. That's been my idea to keep learning and drumming up a lot about, because there's so many avenues it can go. And so smart home lighting is that route I'm on right now. And it has everything to do with, retrofitting your current house all the way to a renovation or new construction. And so there are products for all the above and different products. And maybe it's specific to budget, or maybe and then don't also think that it has to be the whole house. Maybe we just want to do the kitchen because that's where we spend a lot of time. And so I can help with, what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your family, and maybe what some of the goals are that you're trying to achieve.
Awesome. And Leanne has just commented here, she doesn't even have a light fixture in her living room yet. This is a great combo and interesting about the high tech. She's old school, she says. Her 1952 house is dark.
Yeah.
We can help with that.
I think there's some really cool products that are out there now that, maybe it's not a lamp, but maybe it plugs in, and it could be something that helps brighten the space. I think one of my comments for that is, I don't think we take enough advantage of our white space, which is a ceiling. And so brightening up our ceiling with something that's indirect is beneficial for that glow factor to just feel brighter. It doesn't have to be a bright, glary source. It just needs to be reflective and cozy.
I think people forget about reflection as part of our lighting. One of the aspects about lighting is how light reflects off of things, whether that's quartz countertops or whether that's a ceiling or, the paint color that we choose. However, it, all of those things affect how we light the room and stuff as well. So yeah, awesome. All right. Well, if anybody has any questions for us, let's see. Oh, just Leanne. Ha 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 ha. That's all good.
Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks, Leanne, for participating. Well, thanks so much, Kelly. Anything else you wanted to toss out there or tell us? Or
well, I was going to get you to smile so that I could take a screenshot picture of us.
Okay, go. Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I think that, if you're going to make that purchase, I know that I think anybody traveling the light bulb section at Home Depot I'm overwhelmed. I can't imagine what the end user's thinking. And then they pick up something that used to be 50 cents and now it's $50, and it's a huge investment. And so if you're ever feeling that discomfort, I'm happy to set up a quick call and we can always have that discussion on what makes sense for you.
Yeah, and I think people, well, I don't know, I'm in my 40s still, barely. But even, as you say, going into the Home Depot end of to pick up your light bulbs for your lamps and things and looking at, it's like, well, I used to get a 60-watt bulb. Now what? Look at all of my choices. Look at all of these things. And sometimes it is overwhelming. And, my go-to is always the better the full spectrum. If it's for lamps and things, that's what I like. It's like, okay, go to this product over here because it's got a warm light and I'm putting it in my lamp next to, my bed or whatever. So that's kind of my frame of reference. I tend to not think necessarily about the bright whites and stuff. And, maybe for your dressing, if you've got a walk-in closet or dressing room or your bathroom and stuff, that maybe that change up is a good thought process too. So yeah, I think the everyday stuff we get lost in, right?
Yeah, I think the terminology is way different. We're not saying a 60-watt incandescent. We're not even saying watt anymore. That is just by the wayside. And so I can see how confusing it is. And so I think that's really what drove me to do what I'm doing. And that's to help spread the message and give a clearer understanding, because it doesn't need to be difficult.
Awesome. All right, Miss Kelly, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. What were we? Oh, 45 minutes. That's good. And if anybody wants to contact Kelly, we've got her. I'll put her information down in the comment section. Reach out to her. As I say, she does these consults. She'll give you some tips and tricks if that's what you need, and then she can talk about what happens next or next steps if you want to do full consultations with her and get some really great advice and really fix your space up to be functional for however you're using it now. And yeah, stay tuned. We're going to do more of these fun things. I don't know. Maybe Kelly and I will find something else fun to talk about, like her awesome hair.
Yeah. It never stays the same, I'll tell you.
Yeah. If anybody, of course, any of you that saw the Facebook post for this event, she's got some wicked pictures of herself done. So,
thanks, everyone.
Okay. Great. How do I stop sharing now? Bye, everyone.